70 of the Cosmic Era, tensions were mounting between Earth and the Zaft organization. Due to the Bloody Valentine tragedy, these tensions suddenly escalated into a full-scale war. It seemed a foregone conclusion that the Earth forces, with its superior numbers, would be victorious. But these initial assessments proved to be false. Almost 11 months have passed since the conflict began, with no end in sight.
So, when the fighting starts again and you refuse to use it, are those going to be your last words, huh? At the moment, you and I are the only ones who can protect this ship.
But I don't think it's...
Kira, you have the power to make a difference, don't you? Then why not put it to good use?
But none of that could be helped, now could it? Because that's war. And you both were fighting against the enemy. Am I mistaken?
Gundam Seed was first aired in Japan back in 2002 and would be introduced to Western audiences in 2004 on Cartoon Network's Toonami block. Gundam Seed would be the fourth Gundam series set in a separate timeline from that of the original series, and by all accounts, upon initial viewing of this series, one can in broad strokes describe Seed as a modern reimagining of the series that started it all, Mobile Suit Gundam. Now this update would not just be a visual one, since the original's animation has not held up too well since the late 70s, but it would also be a thematic one as well. It is interesting to note that this reimagining was so successful at the time that the powers to be in Sunrise and Bandai would give the same treatment to Gundam Wing, a series that to many in the West would be their first taste of this enduring mecha series, and this would come in the form of Gundam 00. Now, unlike many reimaginings and reboots that Hollywood has haphazardly produced up until this point, Gundam Seed would utilize its source material differently and put a unique twist on many of the ideas, tropes that make a Gundam series, well, Gundam, and introduce new ideas into the mix. In this first video, I'll be going over one of those new ideas that are not present in the original series. With that being said, spoiler alert ahead for the rest of this video. Now, I would be remiss to not point out that this thought was originally brought up well over 10 years ago in a very well written article about this very subject. Now, I wanted to post this article in my description as a source, but as of right now, I've been unable to find that article online, which is a damn shame because it's very well written and I can only do the article so much justice just from memory alone. So if you happen to be the person who wrote this article long ago, or if you know where to find it, please post a link in the comment section below. I'll be sure to pin it. 3 Princesses of Gundam Seed. Now, the main protagonist of Gundam Seed is a young college student who goes by the name of Kira Yamato, and much like all Gundam protagonists, he'll soon find himself falling into the cockpit of a super advanced experimental mobile suit. That trope doesn't really change a whole lot. However, as the series would progress, he would meet and interact with 3 women who would have a profound impact on his life. These 3 women are Lacus Clyne, the series' best girl and pop idol princess. Second is Kigali Yulatha, an actual princess in the in-universe nation of Orb and the resident tomboy. And the last princess is Flay Auster, that in some fan circles can be described as a soulless ginger succubus who should have died way earlier in the series. I, of course, will be going over why some people feel that way. Now, in the article, the author noted that these 3 women all share one tragic trait that will go on to influence and define their actions and how they interact with Kira Yamato throughout the series. And that trait would be that each of these 3 women's fathers would die as a direct result of the Bloody Valentine War. Going chronologically through the series, the first princess whose father would die as a result of the war is Flay Auster. Now, Flay Auster's father, Vice Minister Auster, is essentially the VP, the Vice President of the Atlantic Federation, one of the series' supranational states. Think the EU of North America and you'll get a general idea of what I mean. Now, the circumstances of her father's death and the fact that Flay grew up in a sheltered politician's daughter setting left her totally unprepared for his death and will set her down a dark path of sorrow and hatred. As a close colleague put it, she is afraid and wants protection, so starts manipulating everyone around her. Unfortunately, this manipulation would be focused mostly on Kira. Not only did he have a crush on her, but he also made a mistake of promising to protect Flay's father. So, with that double whammy in mind, both Flay and Kira would enter into a toxic relationship that would be a major mental contributor to Kira's pain and sorrow throughout the beginning half of the series. That Flay would come to realize how much pain she put Kira through and how much she regretted her actions. Now, at the end of the series, she would die shortly before the end of the war and would not have a chance to physically apologize to Kira for what she did. However, in classic Gundam fashion, she would appear to Kira in a cosmic glow, if you will. Not too dissimilar to what Lala and Amuro's new type interactions were, to tell him how sorry she was for what she did, and that she would protect him in spirit for the rest of his life. Now, some of my thoughts on this subplot here. It really does speak volumes to the human condition. Many of us would like to think that we would be better than Flay and not negatively manipulate those around us, no matter how much pain we're being put through. Or that we'd be better than Kira and be immune to such manipulation. Sadly, this happens more times than one would like to admit. And for a mecha series designed to sell toys, it's pretty damn refreshing to see this told in this way, even if it is a bit depressing. Now, thankfully, Gundam Seed does provide a couple remedies to the above-mentioned manipulation, above-mentioned sorrow and hatred. The first remedy is to have a good counterbalance in your life, and that counterbalance for Kira, initially, is the next princess, Kigali. Now, through their interactions, Kigali would help Kira keep his sanity and give him an alternate viewpoint on the events of the war going on. Kind of confused, he meets this girl who, despite not having any plainly visible reasons to fight, especially since her nation is neutral, she's taken up arms, actively engaged in fighting against an enemy who has, well, to be frank, better logistics, better training, much better equipment. It is through his curiosity and her tenacious attitude that he starts to realize that he has to fight for more than just protecting his friends, but also to fight to end his war quicker with a minimum loss of life, while still trying to maintain his own conscience. And with that, that brings us to our last, but certainly not our least princess, Lacus Clyne. When we first meet Lacus in the series, one can describe her as kind, understanding, perhaps a bit aloof, and very much against the current war. In fact, she's so against the current war that she becomes personally involved with the private peace talks taking place on Earth. And it is at this point that she finds a nearly dead Kira Yamato and nurses him back to health. In a way, Lacus resurrects Kira by giving him a reason and hope and will to live again. Unfortunately, near the end of the series, Lacus' father, the leading politician calling for a negotiated end of hostilities, is assassinated by his political rivals, who wish to escalate the conflict to include the use of weapons of mass destruction. It is at this point that Lacus chooses to fight back. With the help of political and military supporters loyal to her father, Lacus would flee her homeland with some of the most advanced weapon systems seen in the show, and use them not as tools of misery and bloodshed, but instead as tools that cut out the unnatural and unloved people who want to escalate the war and finally bring peace to the world at large. When Kira finally returns to help Lacus in this endeavor, they share their vulnerabilities with one another. They help each other grow as humans and even begin a nurturing, loving relationship with one another. Now, this sharing of pain, growing growing of strength to carry on despite great personal loss. This right here speaks to some of the best qualities of humanity. And for me, being a romantic, in many ways gives me hope in humanity. Now, this is one of the few new themes that Seed explored that the original wasn't able to. And I wish to go on talking about these themes in greater detail. And with that, thank you for listening. And I'll catch you guys next time.